Hi guys, my name is Karthik and I'm from executeautomation.com and welcome to the next session of our Selenium with Java course. And we have been talking about Selenium with Java from basic to advanced in this series, and we have completed the core Java concept until few lectures before. And in our last lecture, we were discussing about the Selenium's introduction and how Selenium works and how you can set up your machine with the Selenium project, Eclipse IDE, and also how you can install Selenium using a jar file, and also how you can create a Maven project and then set up things from that Maven project. And in this session, we are going to discuss about how we can make use of the Maven project that we were discussing in our last lecture to start adding the dependencies of Selenium using the Maven repository. I know there are so many things to discuss here this time, but we have to discuss all of these in this particular lecture. So let's get into it straight away. So you can see that in our last lecture, while we were creating a Maven project, something like this, it automatically scaffolded some of the folder structure for us, something like that. Like it's created like a source, it's a main Java, and there is a source of main resource, Java resource, something like that. And they have got quite a lot of things over here. All right. So these are the things which is automatically created for us over here in this particular Maven project over here. But as I told, like there is something called as a Maven. So if you have never really heard about Maven, we just go to the browser over here, and if you just search for Maven, something like that, hopefully those things just pan out over here. If not, I'm just going to go to Google. I'm going to search for Maven project, something like that, and you see that this is the Maven, the welcome to Apache Maven. So if you just go to this page, this is the one that we are really using in our project at the moment. So Apache Maven is a software project management and comprehension tool, and based on the concept of a project object model, Maven can manage a project's build, reporting, and documentation from a central piece of information. So if you think that Maven could help your project, you can find more information about Maven section of the navigation. This can include the in-depth of what Maven is and all those details. So if we just go and hit this, what Maven is, you can see that Maven is basically the accumulator of knowledge in the Yiddish word, but it's previously created to make your development lives much easier. That is like in a whole, like a long story short of this entire thing that you are seeing over here. So basically, Maven project will help you to make the building process easier. It also provides a uniform build system. It provides a quality project information, and it encourages for better development practices. And that's why while we created a Maven project in Java for Java testing, this project automatically created a scaffold of the coding, like a structure for us, and we can use these structures to start implementing our test as well. So that's the whole idea of how you can use the Maven project while you write the code. And not only that, Maven also has got there are so many things available in Maven. So if you just go to the Maven plugin over here, you can see that Maven has got like a build plugins and a reporting plugins. And these are the things that you can use in the Maven. So while we say build plugin, what does that mean? So basically, it is like how you wanted to build your project. Like, do you wanted to build the entire project? You remember we used to go to our Eclipse IDE and we just go to the project and then we do the build and clean. And then we run the project by clicking this run button. So all those things we are doing from this particular IDE. And if you want to do that from the Java world, you have to do the Java C to do the compilation and then Java to run the program. But in a bigger, larger scale project, like an enterprise grade application, if you want to run an application where you have to run everything from restoring your dependencies, and if you wanted to run them all in a pipeline, you can't do with a normal Java project much easily. I mean, you need to have a build system in place like Ant, for example. But if you don't have all those things, then Maven and Gradle are the go-to solution for you to go with. And that's going to simplify your development process and testing process as well. Well, as that said, this Maven project, you can see that it does the clean operation. So it's clean up the build, like clean up after the build happens. So you can also do something like a compilation, deploy, fail safe, install, and all those things over here. And you can also see that Maven has got something like a package manager or Maven repository center. So if I just go to this Maven repository center over here, you can see that this is the Maven repositories which we are going to be heavily using while we start automating using Selenium and with Maven. So you can see that the Apache Maven uses a repository to store the artifacts. So your dependencies are being downloaded from these repositories, and the artifacts you are building are being stored into repositories as well. So you can download some repositories from online, or you can also build your own repositories. I mean, you got your own build and you can push it to the repository as well. So it's like a two-way. You can either download some of the repository from online and you can push some of the code to the repository. So you can see that this is a central repository and there are some mirrors repositories as well. So what happens if the central goes down? You can download from the mirrors as well. Or maybe just to increase the speed of your downloading of the dependency, you also use the mirror repositories as well. That's how Maven has got the repositories. And Maven repositories actually are very, very helpful for you to download the dependencies. So I'm not going to keep things more complex this time. I just want to simplify things. So basically, Maven repositories, you can just think of it like a central place where it stores all the softwares for you. For instance, Selenium, it will be stored in the Maven repository. And similarly, TestNG or JUnit or extent report, whatever that you use in Selenium automation testing will all be stored in the Maven repository. So if you just add a reference to the Maven repository, you will just download all the things into your local project. That's how things will work in Maven. And you can see that Maven over here has got this POM or the package manager thingy, which has got some details over here. Like it has the project and has got some detail like what are things are being stored like XML and NS and where the locations of the POM file is and what is the location of the place where you need to download the repositories from. So those informations are sitting over here. Like this is the schema definition that it holds for you. And you remember we created these things while we were creating the Maven project for us over here. Now you can ask like, Karthik, are these the only tags available for the pom.xml file? Well, no, you can create, if you just open an angle bracket and hit control space, you can see that it is doing some computation and there are going to be more informations available as well. For instance, you can create something like dependency. So if I just start typing like DEP, then it brings you up something like dependency. So this is one of the tag or the property which is available in Maven for you. And within dependencies, you can also add something like dependence, because this is dependencies, like in plural, you can also install some dependency inside this particular dependency. And the dependency is nothing but Selenium, for example. That dependency we can add into this pom.xml file. And we can keep on adding more dependencies based on what is being required. And similarly, if you're going to be doing a build project from this Maven, then you need to add some more things on it. I mean, we'll get there once we start doing the build operations and stuff. But for now, just be aware that this dependency is going to be the first point of your source, probably, to store or to get the dependency from the Maven's online repository into your local machine. So that's not the tag. And while I keep on telling about the Maven repository, where is this Maven repository in first place? So if I just go to the Google and if I just put Maven, see, Maven repository, this is the one which I'm talking about, mvnrepository.com. So if you just go to this mvnrepository.com, this is part of Maven repository, to be honest. It has got all the libraries which are being built in the world. and stored over here. So the popular category is testing framework and tools. Let's go and hit that. I'm sure Selenium is going to come up as well. Okay, there we go. JUnit is one of the most popular among that. And there is some other libraries over here. TestNG, Hamcrest, and where is Selenium? I was just wondering that Selenium should be there here. For some reason, it's not. And there is Rest Assured for doing the API testing, quite popular. Kotlin test, test container, Spec2 core, playtest. Unfortunately, Selenium is not coming up. I'm not sure why. But if we just go and search for the group, artifact, and category, you remember these groups, artifact, and categories we have within our project as well. You see that group ID and artifact ID. So this is the one which defines that your project has got this ID, which means Selenium, while they create a project, they will also have a group ID and artifact ID in their Maven pom.xml file. That's what this really signifies over here. So now if I go and search for Selenium, you will notice that we get this Selenium Java package. It's published on August 9th, 2024, which is quite the latest version. And you see that the version number will be available if we go inside this particular Selenium Java. And you can also see there are many different packages available like Selenium Remote Driver, Selenium Server, Selenium API, Selenium Support, Chrome Driver, Firefox Driver, and there are so many things over here. But some of them like HTML Init Driver and RC Driver Client have been relocated to the Selenium itself, like Selenium Java itself. You don't have to worry about it. So now let's get into the Selenium Java project. And you will notice that this is the number one in the web testing category, which is great. And you'll also notice that this is the latest version 4.23.1. You remember that's the one that we were downloading yesterday, 4.3.0. I mean, that was the older version, I guess. It's not been updated even in the Selenium's website. But in Maven, you see that this is even more updated version. So I'm going to go copy this repository link from the Maven. So the way I can copy this particular this version is by clicking this particular link over here. And you see that it says the repository is central. Remember, I was just showing you a diagram here that there is a central repository and mirrors repository. But this code that you're seeing over here is sitting on the central repository, which means it has given a more priority there. So if you just go and click this link, you will see that it gives you some information like licenses, Apache 2.0, categories, web testing, the tags are these. And the homepage of this website is selenium.dev, which means it's the authentic source, which is the Selenium's own code that we have to download within our project. And we have got the downloads, how many downloads it has happened so far. And you see that it's been used, you can refer the Maven project by just clicking it, click it. You see that copy to clipboard, which means all these dependency are being copied within your machine's clipboard. So you can just use this now within your projects right away. So you remember the one that was creating the dependency? You can just paste it over here so that you can resolve the dependency for you automatically. I'll get there, just give me a second. And then we also have a Gradle tab where if you just click this, it is going to copy the Gradle way of referring to this particular repository. There's Gradle Shard, Gradle Kotlin, SBT, IB grep, and there are so many things that you can use, but we are going to just use the Maven for now. These are the different types of build, compilation, and stuff that is available for referring to Selenium, and they all are using Maven repository as the source of downloading the package from. So I'm going to copy, just going to click this, so it's copied everything. So I'm going to go to our Eclipse IDE, and now we are going to add our Selenium project into our project as a reference, which means we are going, instead of we downloaded you remember we were downloading the jar file manually from the Selenium website. From this link, it downloaded a jar file for me, and then we were doing things from there, like adding an external jar file. You don't have to do any of those things right now. all we have to do it is just go ahead, delete the dependency that I just manually type. Now if I paste this code, which is the reference over here, you will notice some of the magics will now happen. So if I just save this, you see that, do you see there is a building 99% happening there? It's effectively downloading things for me within my dependency. You see that now we have a Maven dependency over here. And you will also notice that all these jar files, this is that Selenium Chrome driver, API, all these are automatically added for me once I added this dependency. So if I just remove this dependency, save it over here right now, you see that all the dependencies are gone. It's magic, right? Like it's all just happening for me. Every single time while I do that, it's just going to add a Maven dependency, and then boom, we have all these jar files downloaded from the central repository and put it in your machine. That's exactly what happens while we use this Maven repository in the CI/CD pipeline, or continuous integration and continuous delivery pipeline, like Azure DevOps or GitHub Actions or Jenkins, for example. You can just refer the project like that, and it is going to go and download, grab the information for you from online, from this Maven repository URL, and it's going to resolve the dependencies for you so that you don't have to manually download the Selenium in your machine. So hope you got the idea, right? That's how we add the dependencies over here within our project. And now that we have created everything over here, we can now start writing the code itself. So that is what we are going to start doing right now. So we are going to start writing the code within our Eclipse IDE. But there is a small change right now. I know a lot of people have asked during the discussion while we were talking about this course. People were telling that there are a lot of people who are using IntelliJ IDE instead of Eclipse IDE. Why, Karthik, you have not used IntelliJ IDE? Because Eclipse IDE is not something they use in their organization, or for some reason they use it, but they still wanted to go towards the modern IDEs. Because I know this Eclipse IDE is still a modern IDE, but they still have to. They still wanted to use Eclipse IDE. It's not like the Eclipse IDE where you can use it in the organization just like that, but the IntelliJ IDE is proprietary, and you need to get a proper sign off before you start using it. But there are so many different advantages of having that IDE, because it is very easy to use, and it is straightforward, and it also simplifies the way you develop the code in Selenium Java. And most importantly, because you're just getting started with the Selenium Java, you'll also find using that IDE very, very straightforward, because it is so easy to use, very simple, and super flexible for you to use. So if we just go to Google over here and just search for IntelliJ Community Edition, something like that, you will end up to this particular page. And let's go and click the version, like comparison. So you can see that we have got something like an IntelliJ IDEA Ultimate Edition, and there is an IntelliJ IDEA Community Edition. So many companies do prefer to go with an Ultimate Edition because it's going to streamline the development process much easier. And I myself has an paid version of Ultimate version, and I can just use it if I wanted to. But I don't want to use it for this course, because most of us are going to have the free version, which is the Community Edition. And because we're just getting started, it is far better to go or stick with an IDE, which is available across everybody. And for you, I'm sure you can just go and download it without any problem, because you are not going to be doing like a software development by your own, and that too for one single person. The IntelliJ Community Edition is free to use, so you can just use it. And you can see that it supports Java, Groovy, Kotlin, Scala, Python, like this IDE as well. But there are some languages it doesn't really support, like Python, and there are so many things like that. So this is the IDE that I'm talking about. You can download this and you can start using it. So if I just go ahead and hit this download link over here, you will notice that it brings you up this IntelliJ IDE Ultimate Edition, which we are not really ultimately going to go there. Just scroll down a bit and you will notice that we have got an IntelliJ IDE Community Edition. And it also has got a Windows ARM, because mine is Windows ARM running in Mac operating system. I'm going to go ahead and download the Windows ARM version at the moment. So you can see that it's just coming through over here, and I can start installing it and start using it. So if you feel like you wanted to get the modern IDE then compared to the Eclipse IDE, then I will highly recommend you to switch through. And it is not going to cost you at all. It's just free. And from this particular lecture, we are going to be using the IntelliJ IDE rather the Eclipse IDE. And if you think that, Karthik, our project, we're just using Eclipse IDE, there is no major difference between Eclipse IDE and IntelliJ IDE. It's just exactly the same, but just that the way you use the coding is going to be very, very straightforward with the IntelliJ IDE, because it simplifies the way you use some of the classes and methods and references and running the test. Everything is very, very simple, and it increases the workflow of you using this particular IDE. So I'm going to start installing it right now. So you can see that it is starting to install. I'm going to hit yes, and then it is going to tell me that it is going to install over here, which is great. And it says that select the version, community edition version that you want to uninstall. Look like there is already a version which I need to uninstall before I start using it. So let me do that, and let me uninstall the old version first and then install the newer version. And the newer version is going to be installed right now. And I'm going to create a association with Java and probably pom file, and I add the bin folder. Let's not do that. I'm going to hit next and hit install. That's going to install the latest version of the IntelliJ IDE Community Edition within my machine. So let's wait for the installation to happen. And you can see that the installation is fully completed. So I'm going to go hit this Run IntelliJ Community Edition checkbox, and I'm going to hit finish. This is going to launch the IntelliJ IDE Community Edition for me in this machine. And you'll see that the IDE is quite beautiful, if I'm not wrong. And I'm going to hit skip import, because I'm not going to use any existing version of importing the settings or anything like that. And you'll be presented with this particular screen like that. And then we can start creating the project from here. So you'll see that there is this new project button, there is an open and then get from VCS or version control systems. So I'm not going to do any of these two right now. I'm going to create a new project. So if I'm going to create a new project, I can just go hit this new project, and you will see that it is so good. It's going to give you the option to show you the Java project or Kotlin project or Groovy project, which are the different types of languages that you can use to create the projects. It also tells you a Maven archetype generators, or you can also use the Java FX, Spring, and compose from Docker. So you can do all those things. On the Java project, you can see that we have a build system like IntelliJ build system or Maven build system or Gradle build system. And the one that we are going to be using is the Maven. So I can go ahead and choose the Maven. So before I actually do that, let me go and open the project that we have been using so far, right? So it's going to be on the and it is going to be on the workspace. And remember, the project that we are working with is the Selenium Java project. So let's try to access the Selenium Java test project, which is going to be this one. And I'm sure we have not added anything on any of this particular stuff. So I'm going to choose this project. I'm going to hit OK. Then it says that found two project configuration in the Selenium Java test, open as Eclipse project or open as the Maven project. So I'm going to go choose the Maven project. I'm not going to choose the Eclipse project because I wanted to import it like a Maven project this time. And it tells that this is a potentially malicious code from this particular folder. I'm just going to thrust this entire workspace all the time, and I'm going to open the project. So you will notice that the UI is quite a bit different. Guess what? Just for the demonstration purpose, I even though like the black theme a lot, but during who's going to look at this particular screen with the dark theme, it may not be looking good. So I'm just going to sync with my operating system and probably, light with light header. Yeah, I think that's a good one. And I hit OK. And you see that now that's the UI that you are going to look at. So you will notice that we have got the same folder structure that we just saw there, like source, main, Java, test and Java, and target. But you see that there is a color differentiation. If you just compare this side by side with the Eclipse IDE, like that, over here, it's exactly the same thing that we are seeing from the Eclipse IDE versus the IntelliJ IDE. You see that the source, main, Java, they all just intended on the same path, but it's just like it shows in a very different structure. That's all it has. As a source, main, Java, resources, but there is a test folder which is intended like that, and there is a target folder which is intended like that. So this target folder which I'm talking about, so it also shows the class compiled file if it has any, which was not even displayed in here in the Eclipse IDE. And then if you see the pom.xml file, just go double click this pom.xml file. You remember this is the one that I just added over here, the Selenium dependency. It comes here as well. It's exactly the same thing. And the only thing is here we call it as Maven dependencies, but here we call it as external libraries. So you see that. So if I remove the dependency, if I just say Control S, and do you see that now if I just remove it, there is this load Maven changes button comes in. So it's not like every time you save it, the dependency will be changed. You need to click this button explicitly. And once I do that, you see that all the external libraries are gone because that Selenium changes are not there anymore. And now if I just revert that code back and hit this Maven changes once again, you get all the external dependencies coming up. So external libraries comes up. So that's how Maven actually structures, IntelliJ actually structures the Maven project for you over here. And yeah, that's all we have got. I mean, there are some specific settings exclusively for this IntelliJ IDE, like ideas, workspace settings that you can use, like what settings that you wanted to use it. And there is some jar repository, like it knows that it's going to be pulling everything from the Maven central repository, JBoss community repository and things. But those things you don't have to worry at the moment because we're not going to go that deep for this particular course. Well, as that said, we are pretty good to go now already because we have everything over here to get going, to start building the code with Selenium using this particular repository. And maybe I can also change the font size a bit. So if I just want to increase the font size of this text, I can just go search for editor, which is this one, this menu. And within this editor, you can see that we have got the font option where I can increase the font size to probably 18, hit apply, the font size increases. If I say 20, hit apply, the font size increases to 20. So you can see it more clearly. Yeah, that's about it. And we're pretty good to go with the IntelliJ IDE. So yeah, that's about it. I mean, we are done with this Eclipse IDE. So if you are still going to use Eclipse IDE, just feel free to use it. There is no much difference between both of them. We can just use it. But I would say I highly recommend you to use the IntelliJ IDE because it's quite modern and it is easy to work with. Well, as that said, we're going to start writing the code with Selenium Java finally. And you see that now we have got some cool color animation. So if I just go and choose the dependency, it just shows the change of colors. And also if we want to add something, let's just open the braces, you see that it's just going to show me dependencies tag. And if I go open it ankle bracket there, it's going to bring me different types of attribute that you can use within this particular pom.xml file. So those things are quite neat, which was not there in the Eclipse IDE, which is one of the thing. And now I'm going to start writing the code over here, which is the Selenium Java code. So now the question comes is, Karthik, you have did so many things. You have been talking about the comparison between IntelliJ IDE and Eclipse IDE, which I don't even care. But I'm telling you, this is for the first time I'm talking about these details so much because I have never spoken about that before. But because you're getting started with Java and Selenium, these things will come handy and will keep you up to date while you think about it. So in order for us to start writing the Selenium Java code, where do we start? Because we have got so many different places here. Like there is a main folder and there is a test folder. Where do I actually write the code for the Java test? And because this is a testing project, you don't have to get with the main folder. So main folder is mainly used if you're going to be writing an application level code. That is the pattern which has been used. But if you're just going to write the test code, I would say you can just stick with the test folder. You don't have to go with the main folder. So test folder is more than enough for you to get going with that. Within this test folder, we have got a Java folder, which is important. We gotta be using that. And within this Java folder, you can create a package and then you can start creating your test classes. So now I'm gonna go create a new package. So we'll just get started and we'll see how it goes. So I'm gonna say getting started package. Within this getting started package, I'm gonna create a new class file. So remember the package icon was different in the Eclipse IDE, but here it's a bit different. That's how this IDE is. So don't worry about it. And over here, I'm gonna create a new Java class file. So I'm gonna say Selenium test is the class and I'm gonna create it over here. That's gonna be my first class, which I'm gonna start using it. But now you may ask like, Karthik, where is this public static void main? We don't even have that option over here. How do I actually add that? So you can actually type that straight away over here. And once you start typing it, you see that it's just gonna bring up this particular option over here, like public. And then you're gonna say static and void is return type, and the method is going to be main. And remember, in the main method, we have to pass the argument, which is nothing but the string array of args. We have to do that over here. And that becomes the central point of your, the initial point of your test code to be executed. And once I do that, immediately you see that we have got a run button over here coming up. And this is coming up over here because the IntelliJ IDE knows that this is going to be an executable code or the starting point of the code, which is going to be executed from this particular file. And now if I'm just going to say system, you see that now we bring that whole lot of tooltip, which is going to be helpful for us to give us the intelligence of what we're going to be start writing it. So if I hit dot, it's going to bring all these methods, which is sitting inside the system class. And there is this out method from the system.out. And then we have a println method, which is going to print the value for us. And over here, I'm going to say, hello, IntelliJ, something like that. I want to save it. So this is cool, right? And that also shows it an option over here, which also shows me some more information. Let's not get into that. And you see there is a small line here, which suffices that it is going to basically a block of code that you're working with. So all these are visual indicators for you to help you understand how you're going to be writing it. And now if I try running this method, you just have to click this run here and then just hit this run selenium test.main. And you see that it is just going to start building things for the first time. And then it is going to run the code for you. You see that? Hello, IntelliJ. that just comes up. And now that we know how to execute the code from the IntelliJ IDE, and now I'm going to flip to writing a Selenium code. So coming back to Selenium code, how do we actually write a Selenium code itself over here? So if you just go and open a paint, I'm just going to show you. We know that Selenium works, how Selenium works, and we saw the architecture of how that works, right? So we have got a client library, which is going to be basically, let's increase the font size a bit. It's going to be the client library, which is going to be Selenium library that we're talking about in Java. And we have already installed that, which is check. And the next one is this library is going to launch the browser for us. So in order for us to launch the browser, how do we actually launch the browser right now? Well, in order for this library to launch the browser, we need to create an instance of the Selenium web driver with the browser driver. So how do we actually do it? Well, because I'm planning to launch the Chrome browser this time, I'm just going to launch the Chrome driver. That's it. That should do things for me. So if I just go over here, the pseudocode is I need to first create a web driver with Chrome driver object. And then I also need to say launch the browser and navigate to a specific URL. So these things I need to do right now. So if I wanted to create a web driver with a Chrome driver object, so what do I really mean about that? So remember, in Selenium, we have to first of all create a web driver, which is going to be the responsible person for launching the browsers and stuff. I'm actually going to do it this way. I'm going to say web driver. So once I type web driver, this IntelliJ IDE automatically knows that I'm talking about this org.openqa.selenium's library, which is cool. So that is why I'm insisting you to work with IntelliJ IDE, because it is going to be very, very straightforward. It helps you understand while you are getting started with Selenium. It helps you understand how you start writing the code as well. It is so good. So I'm going to say web driver. And once I do a space, you see that it says that you need to import the package org.openqa.selenium. Hit Alt Enter to do it, or you can just hit the import class, and you see that it just adds things for you, which is fabulous. And then I need to use this variable, because I'm creating a web driver. So I need a variable driver is equal to, I need to create a browser driver, which is going to be new. And because I'm going to launch the Chrome browser, I'm going to be using the Chrome driver. And that's exactly we saw in the diagram yesterday. So I'm going to say Chrome driver. So that's going to be the driver object which I wanted to create to launch the Chrome browser. So this will now launch the Chrome browser for me. I know it's feel a bit awkward, like how just one line is going to do that for me. I will tell you that there are some magics happening behind the scene. And now once the driver has been created, we need to now make sure that we launch the browser. Guess what? This driver object creation is going to do that for you automatically. So this line is now obsolete because you don't even have to do it. This line and the first and second line is going to be taken care. The first and second pseudocode of the operation is taken care by this one single line itself, which is awesome. So it is going to be taken care for you automatically here. And now I'm just going to navigate to a specific URL. So let's say if I want to go to google.com. So what I do all the time, I just open a browser, I go to this browser, and then I just go type google.com. That's what I do in the manual fashion, right? Like, so if I want to do the exact same thing with the automated fashion, I wanted to navigate to this particular URL, which I do that using this method. So driver variable has got some method called as navigate. So this is a navigation class. It has got a navigate method. So if I just gonna call this navigate method, and this navigate method returns a to method, because it is basically returning a navigation class, and that class has got a method for the to method. So you can just use this to method, and here you can pass the string as http :/google.com. It's basically http yes, because it's secured. So that's gonna open the google.com for me. And now we have written the entire code over here in the IntelliJ IDE. Now, if I wanted to run this same test on the Eclipse IDE, it's going to be exactly the same way like how we used to do. So I just wanted to show you the difference between both of them, just in case, so that you can understand things more clearly. So you can see that this method, the main method of this particular project, is sitting over here, the source test of the Java folder, and it's the package getting started package. And you can see that this is exactly the same code that we have written, that we are opening in the Eclipse IDE. So the way you run that in the Eclipse IDE is you just hit this run button, right? So now if I hit this run button, let's see what's going to basically happen. So let me do that. So you see that we are opening a browser for the very first time, pretty much like how a user does. So it's just opening the browser for me, and also opens up the google.com page, because it is navigating to this particular URL for me. This is the automation, guys. This is the first taste of you to get to the automation over here. So now if I want to go to, let's say, bing.com, and if I change that URL and if I run this particular test, you will notice that it is going to navigate me to the bing.com website. So this shows that this is just working fine for us based on whatever URL that we specify. It is going to navigate, the code is going to navigate me to that particular browser. That is how it actually works in the automation testing. Now, coming back to the IntelliJ IDE, if I want to debug this particular code and see how that works, so if I put a breakpoint here, and now if I try to debug this code, you see that the run button over here, just click that run button, and you see that we have got this debug Selenium test main. So this is the way we actually debug in the IntelliJ IDE as compared to the bug button that we click on the Eclipse IDE. So here I'm just gonna click the run button, hit this debug, and you will notice that the debugger is going to spawn up, and you see that it is going to start running the test for me. And you see that the breakpoint has now hit to this particular point, and we have got the details of what's happening with the driver object. But at the same time, the browser has already opened over here, but we have not navigated yet. So if I try to step over, you see that we have got a step over button here as well, like how we have in the Eclipse IDE. So if you just hit this step over, now you see that it has navigated to the bing.com website, which is what happened to this line of code. So it has did the navigation to that particular page on the browser from this particular line. And that way, if I just resume the test execution, see, this is the resume button over here. So you can even hit this one, or you can hit the resume button over here in the IntelliJ IDE to resume the execution. You see that the browser has just opened, which is great. So this is how we can actually run the test and write our first Selenium code using Java. I know there are so many questions you have got, like how this line of code can open the browser, and how did we navigate to this particular page, and what are the different methods available in the WebDriver to work with while we use this WebDriver to play around with the browser. So we are going to discuss every single thing in our next lecture, but at least now that you have got the first taste of automating the browser using Selenium. Congratulations. Meet you in the next lecture. Thank you.